The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the usual pre-session chatter. Delegates from 47 species milled about, their translator implants working overtime as they exchanged pleasantries and thinly veiled threats. Ambassador Kelrith of the Vornax Collective adjusted his ceremonial sensory tendrils, already regretting his decision to attend this particular summit. Another tedious cycle of bureaucratic posturing, he muttered to his aide, a younger Vornax named Threxus who still possessed the naive enthusiasm of someone who believed interstellar politics actually accomplished something. "Sir, they say the Terran representative will be here today," Threxus whispered, his bioluminescent patches flickering with poorly concealed excitement. Kelrith's tendrils drooped. "Oh, wonderful. The humans. Those weird bipedal creatures who had stumbled onto the galactic stage barely 3 stellar cycles ago and somehow managed to make everyone profoundly uncomfortable without actually doing anything overtly threatening. It was like watching a predator pretend to be prey, except nobody could quite prove the predation part." "Marvelous," Kelrith said, his voice dripping with enough sarcasm to corrode tritanium plating. "I was hoping my day would include existential dread alongside the standard political theater." The chamber fell silent. Not the polite kind of silence that preceded formal announcements, but the instinctive, prey species kind of silence that happened when something with too many teeth walked into the room. Kelrith's survival instincts, honed over millions of years of evolution, started screaming at him before his conscious mind even registered what was happening. She entered alone. The human female stood perhaps 1.7 meters tall, which was frankly unimpressive by most galactic standards. The Throndar delegates towered over her at 3 meters. The crystalloid shimmer wings could barely see her from their elevated platforms. Yet every eye, sensor, and electromagnetic field detector in the room locked onto her with the focus of a combat targeting system. She wore what the humans called a business suit, a strange fabric arrangement in dark blue that covered most of her body. Her hair, an unusual auburn shade, was pulled back in what their database called a ponytail. She carried a simple data tablet and wore a smile that made Kelrith's survival instincts start planning escape routes. "Good morning, esteemed delegates," she said, her voice pleasant, professional, and utterly terrifying in ways Kelrith couldn't articulate. "I am Cassandra Vale, representing the Terran Coalition. I apologize for my tardiness. Traffic in the orbital approach was, shall we say, educational." A Hivex delegate, all mandibles and compound eyes, chittered nervously. "Educational?" Cassandra's smile widened fractionally. 3 pirate vessels attempted to board our shuttle. They seemed surprised when we declined their generous offer of involuntary wealth redistribution. The survivors are now enjoying the hospitality of station security. "Survivors?" squeaked Mipthar, a rabbit-like Loparian whose species had evolved from prey animals and never quite gotten over it. "Well, we are trying to make a good impression," Cassandra replied, her tone suggesting that leaving survivors had required considerable restraint. "Shall we begin?" Kelrith watched as she moved to the Terran delegation pod, her gait smooth, efficient, economical, nothing wasted. Like a hunting cat, his mind supplied unhelpfully, like something that knew exactly how much energy each movement required to kill. "Oh, stop being dramatic," he told himself. "She is just a diplomat in a fancy suit, probably fills out reports in triplicate and attends boring committee meetings." Then why were his tendrils trying to retract into his skull? The session moderator, a Veskari named Quelthos whose species prided themselves on neutrality and procedural correctness, called the assembly to order. The first issue on the agenda was trade route security through the Kestrel Nebula, a topic so mind-numbingly boring that Kelrith had actually prepared a small neural stimulator to keep himself conscious. 27 delegates spoke. Each one said essentially the same thing in slightly different words, which was apparently a constitutional requirement for galactic governance. Kelrith felt his life force draining away, one procedural objection at a time. Then Cassandra raised her hand. "If I may," she said, standing with the kind of casual grace that made Kelrith think of predators rising from tall grass. I have reviewed the 17 proposed security frameworks, and I believe I have identified the core issue nobody wants to acknowledge. Quel'Thos blinked his 3 eyes in sequence, a sign of Veskari confusion. And what issue would that be, Ambassador Vale? You are all afraid, she said simply. The chamber erupted. Delegates bellowed, chittered, hummed, and in one case, emitted a pheromone cloud of indignation. Cassandra waited with the patience of stone until the noise subsided. The Kestrel Nebula has become a haven for piracy, because every species here is afraid to actually do anything about it, she continued, consulting her tablet as if discussing weather patterns rather than calling out the collected military powers of 47 civilizations. The Throndar hierarchy cannot commit their fleet because they fear it will be seen as aggression by the Vornax collective. The Vornax cannot act because the crystalline communion might interpret it as territorial expansion. The communion sits paralyzed because nobody has asked their permission in triplicate, and meanwhile, pirates are literally laughing at us while they rob freighters blind. The situation is complex, began High Commander Zarthex of the Throndar, his forearms spreading in a gesture of diplomatic defensiveness. Oh, it is spectacularly complex, Cassandra agreed, and her smile could have frozen hydrogen. We have made it complex. We have written such intricate rules of engagement that nobody can engage anything without filing 17 forms and waiting for approval from species who have not invented faster than light travel yet. It is genuinely impressive. We have weaponized bureaucracy to the point of self-paralysis. Kelrith found himself leaning forward despite his better judgment. This was either brilliant or suicidal, and he genuinely could not tell which. The Terran Coalition has a simpler proposal, Cassandra said. We will clear the Kestrel Nebula of pirates. No forms, no committees, no endless debates about jurisdictional boundaries. We will go in, we will remove the threat, and we will leave. Any species that wants to join us is welcome. Any species that wants to stay here and debate procedural minutiae is equally welcome. You cannot simply declare unilateral action in contested space, sputtered Kelrith, his tendrils bristling with alarm. There are protocols, procedures, precedents. Ambassador Kelrith, Cassandra said, and her eyes found him across the chamber with sniper precision. How many vessels has your civilization lost to piracy in the Kestrel Nebula this cycle? 47, he admitted. And how many meetings have you attended about this problem? 83. Has the number of pirate attacks increased or decreased during these 83 meetings? Kelrith's tendrils drooped. Increased by 32%. Then I submit that your protocols are not working, Cassandra said gently, which somehow made it worse. Perhaps it is time to try something else. Violence, demanded Priestess Luminara of the Crystalline Communion, her faceted body refracting light in patterns that indicated moral outrage. You propose to solve piracy with more violence? No, Cassandra corrected. I propose to solve piracy with decisive action. The violence is merely a probable consequence of pirates refusing to surrender. When confronted by superior force, most predatory behavior ceases when the predator realizes it has become prey. There was that word again. Predator. The way she said it, casual as discussing lunch options, made Kelrith's skin membrane tighten. And if you fail? Asked Zarthex. If these pirates are more formidable than you anticipate? Cassandra's expression did not change, but something in the set of her shoulders, the angle of her head, made every prey species delegate in the room take an involuntary step backward. High Commander, she said quietly, humans have been dealing with pirates since before we discovered fire. We are very, very good at it. The session broke for mid-cycle refreshments, which Kelrith desperately needed. He made his way to the diplomatic lounge, where various species clustered in their comfort groups, exchanging scandalized whispers about the human's audacity. She cannot be serious, muttered Mipthar, nervously grooming his whiskers. Attacking the sea him. Kestrel Nebula? The pirate confederacy there has 70 vessels at minimum. The Terrans have maybe a dozen in this sector. Maybe she is bluffing, suggested Threxus hopefully. Humans do that, right? Big threats, no follow-through. Kelrith wished he could believe that. He accessed the Terran data files on his personal tablet, scrolling through the publicly available information about human history. It made for unsettling reading. Species classification: persistence predator, omnivorous, binocular vision, optimized for tracking movement, endurance hunter, capable of pursuing prey until exhaustion, social pack predator with complex hierarchical structures, notable for extreme environmental adaptability and tool use sophistication. Military history: continuous warfare, spanning entire recorded civilization. Estimated 75% of human technological advancement directly attributable to military applications. Notable conflicts include 2 planetary wars involving over 100 nations each, resulting in estimated 100 million casualties total. He paused at that number. 100 million of their own species. Over what? Territory? Resources? Ideological disagreements? The report was maddeningly vague on the details, but clear on the outcomes. Humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other, and had apparently gotten quite good at it. She is not bluffing, Kelrith said quietly. What? Threxus looked up from his own tablet, where he was no doubt reading something far less disturbing. Look at this. Kelrith turned the screen. Humans have orbital kinetic weapons. Do you know what that means? They literally drop metal rods from space and let gravity do the rest. No explosives, no radiation, just physics and an impact crater the size of a city block. They call them, and I am quoting here, rods from God. They named their weapons after deities. That is just atmospheric entry vehicles with mass drivers. Threxus objected. Lots of species have those. Yes, but most species use them for construction or mining. Humans specifically designed theirs to kill things. There is a difference between a tool that can be weaponized and a weapon that sometimes gets used as a tool. A shadow fell across their table. Kelrith looked up to find Cassandra standing there, holding a cup of some steaming liquid that the station database identified as coffee, a human stimulant beverage containing enough alkaloids to be classified as a mild poison by 6 different species standards. May I join you? She asked pleasantly. No, Kelrith's survival instincts screamed. Run, hide, shed your current skin, and grow a new one in a different sector. Of course, Kelrith heard himself say instead, because millions of years of evolution had apparently failed to override diplomatic courtesy. Cassandra sat with that same economical grace, setting her poison drink on the table. Up close, Kelrith could see details he had missed. From across the chamber, her eyes were an unusual gray-green, with round pupils that contracted slightly as they moved from shadow to light. Her hands, resting on the table, showed no claws or obvious weapons, yet Kelrith could not stop staring at them. They looked remarkably similar to some primate species in the Galactic database. Species classified as tool users and problem solvers. You think I am crazy, she said. Not a question. I think you are proposing a military action that could destabilize an entire sector, Kelrith replied carefully. Whether that constitutes insanity depends on your objectives. Fair. She sipped her poison. Let me ask you something, Ambassador. What do you know about honey badgers? Kelrith's translator implant stuttered. I am unfamiliar with that term. Mellivora capensis, Cassandra said. Small earth carnivore, maybe 10 kilograms. They have a reputation for being, shall we say, unreasonably tenacious. There is a saying about them. Do you know what a honey badger's response is when confronted by a superior predator? Retreat? Threxus ventured. Attack, Cassandra corrected. A honey badger does not care if you are bigger, stronger, or more numerous. It will go for your throat and keep coming until one of you is dead. It has skin so tough that bee stings, porcupine quills, and snake bites barely slow it down. It raids beehives while being stung thousands of times, and just keeps eating honey. Lions avoid them. Leopards avoid them. Even humans give them a wide berth because, frankly, they are terrifying little monsters. She set down her cup, her gray-green eyes fixed on Kelrith with an intensity that made him want to check for targeting lasers. Here is the thing about honey badgers, Ambassador. They are not apex predators. They should not win fights against animals 4 times their size, but they do, consistently, because they have something more important than size or strength. They have the absolute certainty that they are willing to hurt you more than you are willing to hurt them. That is what humans have, Ambassador Kelrith. Not superior technology or larger fleets or ancient warrior traditions. We have the willingness to commit fully to violence when violence becomes necessary. That sounds like a threat, Kelrith said slowly. No, it is an explanation, Cassandra replied. The pirates in the Kestrel Nebula operate on the assumption that everyone will back down eventually, that there is a calculation where the cost exceeds the benefit, and rational actors will choose negotiation over confrontation. They are right about most species. But humans are not always rational actors when someone threatens our people. We take that personally. You cannot operate on emotions in interstellar politics, Kelrith protested. Decisions must be logical, calculated. Ambassador, Cassandra interrupted gently. Did you know that your species sends 83% of your freight through automated routes, with minimal crew specifically to reduce casualties if pirates attack? You have calculated that it is more cost-effective to lose cargo than to defend it. That is logical. That is rational. It is practical, Kelrith defended. It is surrender wearing a spreadsheet, Cassandra countered. And the pirates know it. They know exactly how much they can take before you will actually fight back. And they stay just below that threshold. It is brilliant. Really. They have turned your rationality into a weapon against you. Threxus leaned forward. And humans would not do that calculation? Oh, we absolutely do the calculation, Cassandra assured him. And then, about 40% of the time, we ignore it completely because somebody got angry. Do you know what human pirates used to say when captured? I would rather burn than let you take what is mine. Not. The cost-benefit analysis suggests resistance is futile. They said no. They said come and take it. They said over my cold, dead body. And they meant it, literally. She finished her poison drink in one swallow. That is what the Kestrel Nebula pirates are about to learn, Ambassador. They are about to meet a species that will absolutely calculate the odds, determine that a fight is expensive and potentially disastrous, and then go ahead and fight anyway because you stole our stuff and that makes us angry. The honey badger does not care about your superior numbers. The honey badger only cares that you are between it and what it wants. Cassandra stood, smoothing her suit. The Terran fleet will enter the Kestrel Nebula in 48 hours. Any species that wishes to observe is welcome to accompany us. Any species that wishes to participate is even more welcome. And any species that wishes to continue holding meetings about it is free to do so. We will send you a full report when we are finished. She walked away, leaving Kelrith and Threxus sitting in stunned silence. Sir, Threxus whispered finally, what are we going to do? Kelrith watched the human female disappear around a corner, her stride confident and unhurried. Somewhere in his genetic memory, buried under millions of years of evolution, something ancient recognized what he had just witnessed. Not a threat, not a challenge, a promise. We, Kelrith said slowly, are going to watch very carefully. Because Ambassador Vale just did something no species has done in 73 cycles of galactic politics. What is that? She told the truth about who humans are, Kelrith said. And I suspect the pirates in the Kestrel Nebula are about to receive a very thorough education on what that means. The observation deck of the neutral monitoring station Pale Horizon offered an unobstructed view of the Kestrel Nebula. 42 delegates had chosen to attend, ostensibly to ensure compliance with galactic warfare conventions. In reality, they wanted to see if the humans were genuinely insane or just exceptionally skilled liars. Kelrith stood at the forward viewport, watching the swirling purple and orange gases that marked the nebula's outer boundaries. Somewhere in that cosmic fog, 73 pirate vessels operated with impunity, secure in the knowledge that galactic civilization was too civilized to stop them. Terran fleet entering sensor range, announced the station's monitoring officer, a multi-limbed hexapod whose name Kelrith could never pronounce correctly. How many vessels? Asked Commander Zarthex. All four arms crossed, skeptically. Scanning now. I count. Wait. That cannot be right. What? Several delegates spoke simultaneously. 4 vessels total. 1 heavy cruiser, 2 frigates, and 1 ship I cannot classify. Its energy signature is completely irregular. Kelrith felt his tendrils sag. 4 ships. Against 73. Either the humans possessed weapons beyond anything in the known galaxy, or Cassandra Vale had severely overestimated her species' capabilities. Perhaps they are establishing a Side-9 perimeter before the main fleet arrives, suggested Threxus hopefully. The monitor flickered to life, showing the Terran formation moving through the nebula's edge. The heavy cruiser, designated Relentless according to the transponder data, led the formation. The 2 frigates, Mongoose and Viper, flanked it in a loose wedge, and behind them came the irregular contact. Still cannot classify the 4th vessel, the hexapod muttered. It is approximately 200 meters long, heavily modified civilian frame, possibly a retrofitted cargo hauler. It is broadcasting a name, the Audacity. Mipthar laughed nervously. They named a warship the Audacity. Technically, it is not classified as a warship, the monitoring officer clarified. According to its registry, it is a privately owned salvage and recovery vessel operating under contract to the Terran military. Salvage? Priestess Luminara's crystalline form pulsed with confusion. They brought a garbage collector to a military operation. A new voice crackled through the communication system, calm and collected. Pale Horizon Monitoring Station. This is Captain Marcus Reeves of the Terran vessel, Relentless. We are commencing operations in the Kestrel Nebula. All observers are advised to maintain minimum safe distance of 500 kilometers. Things are about to get interesting. Interesting was such a wonderfully vague human word. It could mean fascinating or terrifying, and Kelrith suspected Captain Reeves intended both definitions simultaneously. Captain Reeves. Quel'Thos activated the response channel. The Pirate Confederacy operating in the nebula has been contacted regarding your arrival. They have responded that any military incursion will be met with, and I quote, overwhelming force and complete annihilation of all hostile vessels. Do you wish to reconsider your operation? There was a pause. Then laughter. Actual laughter. Rolling through the communications system like thunder. Monitoring. Station. Please inform the pirates that we appreciate their enthusiasm. Tell them we are looking forward to their best effort. Relentless out. He is joking, Threxus said. He must be joking. The Terran formation penetrated deeper into the nebula, their sensor profiles cutting through the interference like knives. Kelrith pulled up the tactical display, watching as pirate signatures began converging on the human position. 20 vessels initially, probably a scouting force meant to intimidate the newcomers. Standard pirate doctrine. Show overwhelming numbers, demand surrender, avoid actual fighting unless necessary. It had worked for decades against species too rational to risk casualties over replaceable cargo. The pirates formed a loose envelope around the Terran vessels, maintaining weapons range but not firing. Posturing. The universal language of predators testing prey responses. A new communication channel opened. Audio only. The voice sounded like gravel being crushed by hydraulic machinery. Terran vessels. This is Warlord Krath of the Nebula Free Fleet. You are operating in sovereign territory without authorization. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Sovereign territory, Captain Reeves replied pleasantly. That is adorable. Tell me, Warlord Krath, when exactly did the Galactic Council recognize your sovereignty over this region? I must have missed that vote. Mock me at your peril, human. We have 20 ships surrounding your position. Surrender now and I may show mercy. 20 ships, Reeves mused. That is a good start. But I was told you had 73 vessels in this nebula. Where are the other 53? Are they shy? Please invite them to join us. We would hate for anyone to miss the party. Even through the audio-only channel, Kelrith could hear the confusion in Krathi's response. You want us to bring more ships? Absolutely. In fact, I insist. This is a demonstration for the galactic community after all. Let us make it comprehensive. There was a long silence. Then Crothy laughed, a sound like rocks in a blender. Your funeral, human. All units, converge on the Terran position. Let us show these arrogant newcomers what happens to those who challenge the Free Fleet. The tactical display lit up like a festival celebration. 73 pirate vessels, ranging from small raiders to several cruiser-class ships, converged on the 4 Terran contacts. It looked less like a military engagement, and more like a school of predatory fish surrounding a very small meal. This is it, Mipthar whispered. They are going to be obliterated. Wait, Kelrith said, watching the display. Look at the Terran formation. They are not panicking. They are not even maneuvering defensively. The 4 human ships maintained course and speed, heading directly toward the center of the pirate formation. The Audacity had moved forward, now positioned at the tip of the wedge. All vessels. Captain Reeves broadcast on an open channel. Weapons free. Execute Protocol Honey Badger. What is Protocol Honey Badger? Demanded Zarthax. They found out 7 seconds later. The Audacity suddenly accelerated, burning toward the nearest pirate vessel at a speed that should have torn the ship apart. Its hull opened like a blooming flower, revealing what looked like cargo containers. Except cargo containers did not usually eject themselves at relativistic velocities directly at enemy ships. The first container struck a pirate raider, amidships. The impact vaporized the front third of the target vessel, sending it spinning into its neighbor. Before anyone could react, 17 more containers launched from the Audacity, each one aimed at a different target with mathematical precision. Those are not containers, the monitoring officer said, voice shaking. Those are kinetic kill vehicles. They turned a cargo hauler into a mass driver platform. That is illegal, Luminara protested. Kinetic bombardment is restricted. Under the Warfare Convention Act of... Those restrictions apply to planetary bombardment, Kelrith interrupted, unable to look away from the tactical display. Not ship-to-ship combat. Technically, what they are doing is just throwing very heavy objects very fast. 10 pirate vessels disappeared from the display in the first 30 seconds. The rest scattered, attempting to establish firing solutions on targets that moved with unsettling precision through the nebula's interference. The Relentless opened up with conventional weapons, its particle beam arrays tracking multiple targets simultaneously. But it was the frigates that truly demonstrated human creativity and violence. Mongoose and Viper split formation, diving into the pirate fleet from opposite vectors. What are they doing? Threxus asked. They are outnumbered 10-1 even with the initial casualties. The frigates did not fire. Instead, they launched dozens of small objects that Kelrith initially mistook for missiles. The tactical computer identified them as something else entirely. Proximity mines, the hexapod monitoring officer announced. They are seeding the engagement zone with autonomous proximity mines. That is cheating, Mipthar protested. No, Kelrith said slowly. That is brilliant. The pirates rely on superior numbers and maneuverability in the nebula. The mines remove both advantages. Now every movement risks collision, and numbers become a liability. As if to demonstrate his point, 3 pirate vessels attempting to flank the Relentless found themselves in a minefield. The autonomous weapons did not wait for permission. They recognized hostile signatures and executed their programming with mechanical efficiency. Terran vessels, cease fire. Warlord Crathy's voice had lost its confident edge. We can negotiate terms. No, Captain Reeves replied simply. You had cycles to negotiate with the civilizations you terrorized. You chose violence. Now you get to experience the consequences. The Audacity rotated, presenting a fresh cargo bay. More kinetic projectiles launched into the chaos. The Relentless advanced methodically, its weapons systems processing targeting solutions faster than the pirates could adapt. Mongoose and Viper continued their mine-laying operation, creating an ever-shrinking kill zone. 41 pirate vessels remaining, the monitoring officer reported. No, wait, 37, 33. The numbers kept dropping, not gradually, but in brutal increments as the Terran strategy became clear. They were not trying to win a fair fight. They were executing an extermination. "This is a massacre," Zarthek said quietly. "No." Cassandra Vale's voice entered the communication channel, and Kelrith realized she must have been monitoring from somewhere. "This is pest control. There is a difference, Commander. 27 vessels remaining." The pirates attempted to regroup, forming a defensive sphere that concentrated their firepower. It might have worked against a conventional assault. The Relentless accelerated directly toward the sphere's center. "They are committing suicide," Luminara gasped. "No," Kelrith said. "Watch." At the last possible moment, the Relentless rotated 90 degrees, presenting its heavily armored flank to the pirate formation. The particle beams never stopped firing. It was like watching a predator charge through a flock of prey animals, teeth bared and utterly committed. The pirate sphere collapsed. Some vessels tried to flee. The mines got most of them. The ones that escaped the minefield ran directly into Mongoose and Viper, who had circled around while everyone focused on the Relentless. 12 vessels remaining. "Warlord Krathi is attempting to flee," the monitoring officer announced. "His flagship is braking for open space." "Negative," Captain Reeves said calmly. "The audacity. Please demonstrate why we brought you along." The retrofitted cargo hauler moved with surprising grace, intercepting Krathi's escape vector. Its engines flared, matching velocity with the larger vessel. Then it did something Kelrith had never seen in 3 decades of observing military operations. It rammed the flagship. Not at full speed. Just a deliberate, calculated collision that sheared off the flagship's primary engines and left it tumbling through space. "Boarding action initiated," reported a new voice, female and cheerful. "This is Lieutenant Maria Vasquez of the Terran Marine Corps. We are going to have a conversation with Warlord Krathi about his career choices." 5 vessels remaining. They surrendered. The entire engagement had lasted 14 minutes. The observation deck remained silent for a full 30 seconds. Every delegate stared at the tactical display, trying to process what they had witnessed. "They lost 1 ship," Threxus finally said. "The Audacity took damage from the ramming action. That is their only casualty." "Not casualty," the monitoring officer corrected. "The Audacity is reporting minimal damage. They designed the ship specifically for ramming actions. The damage is cosmetic." Mipthar started laughing. It was a high-pitched, slightly hysterical sound. "They built a warship designed to crash into things on purpose." "Who does that?" "Humans," Kelrith said. "Apparently." Captain Reeves addressed the monitoring station directly. "Pale Horizon, this is Relentless. Hostile action in the Kestrel Nebula has been terminated. We are securing surviving vessels and personnel. Casualty report: 0 Terran fatalities, 14 minor injuries, mostly from Lieutenant Vasquez being overenthusiastic with a boarding hatch. Please inform the Galactic Council that commercial traffic may resume normal operations through this sector. The management apologizes for the inconvenience." "The management," Zarthex repeated incredulously. "They just annihilated a pirate confederacy that has operated for 12 cycles, and they are apologizing for inconvenience." A priority channel opened. Cassandra Vale appeared on the main view screen, still wearing that same business suit, still looking like she should be filing reports rather than coordinating military operations. "Esteemed delegates," she said pleasantly, "I trust the demonstration was informative. The Terran Coalition wishes to make our position clear. We are happy to participate in councils, committees, and diplomatic negotiations. We genuinely prefer peaceful solutions to complex problems. However, when peaceful solutions prove inadequate, we are prepared to implement alternative methods." "Alternative methods," Kelrith repeated. "You mean overwhelming violence?" "I mean decisive action," Cassandra corrected. "Violence is simply a tool, Ambassador. Humans have spent millennia learning how to use that tool efficiently. We do not enjoy it particularly, but we are very, very good at it when necessary." Luminara's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. "You cannot simply solve every problem by destroying it." "No," Cassandra agreed. "But we can solve this specific problem by destroying this specific threat. And now, All those freighters that were being robbed can operate safely. All those crews that were being ransomed can go home to their families. The cost-benefit calculation just shifted dramatically, Priestess. Piracy in this sector is no longer profitable. That makes it unlikely to continue. What about the prisoners? Asked Quel'Thos. We are transporting them to neutral custody for trial under galactic law. We are not savages, moderator. We simply believe that laws work better when people know they will be enforced. The view screen shifted to show the Kestrel Nebula, now quiet, except for the Terran vessels, methodically cataloging debris and securing survivors. It looked peaceful. Deceptively so. The Terran Coalition extends an open offer to all civilized species, Cassandra continued. If you have a piracy problem, a raider problem, or any similar issue where diplomatic solutions have proven ineffective, contact us. We will be happy to provide alternative problem resolution services, free of charge. Consider it our contribution to galactic stability. You are offering to become the galaxy's enforcers? Kelrith asked. We are offering to be the honey badger, Cassandra replied, and her smile could have frozen suns. Sometimes civilizations need someone willing to do the unpleasant work that rational calculations say is not worth doing. Humans excel at ignoring rational calculations when something pisses us off. The communication ended. Kelrith stood at the viewport, watching the Terran vessels prepare for departure. They moved with that same efficient grace, wasting no motion, expending no unnecessary energy. Like predators. Like something that had evolved specifically to be good at violence, then developed enough intelligence to be strategic about when and how to apply it. Sir, Threxus said quietly. What did we just witness? Kelrith considered the question carefully. In the reflection of the viewport, he could see the other delegates beginning to disperse, heading back to their ships and their governments to report what they had seen. We witnessed, he said slowly, the moment the galactic community learned that humans are not prey animals pretending to be predators. They are apex predators who have been politely pretending to be civilized because they prefer civilization. And we just saw what happens when they stop pretending. That is terrifying. Yes, Kelrith agreed. But here is the truly unsettling part, Threxus. They still were civilized during that entire engagement. They offered surrender terms. They took prisoners. They operated within the technical boundaries of galactic warfare conventions, even if they violated the spirit spectacularly. They did not have to do any of that. They chose to. So they can be worse? Kelrith remembered the historical files he had read. The human wars, the casualties, the weapons they had developed to kill their own species, then carefully archived when they reached the stars. Oh, they can be much worse, he said. And that is why I am going to recommend the Vornax Collective accept their offer of security cooperation. Because I would much rather have humans politely pretending to be civilized than have them decide politeness has stopped being useful. 3 cycles later, the piracy rates in 14 sectors had dropped to 0. Not because the Terran fleet patrolled constantly, but because word had spread through the criminal networks. The honey badgers were awake, and they did not care about your superior numbers, your fortified positions, or your carefully calculated risk assessments. They only cared that you had stolen something, and they were coming to take it back. The apex predator had stopped wearing its human mask, and the galaxy realized it had never really been a mask at all, just politeness. And humans could stop being polite whenever they chose. Warlord Krethi, from his prison cell awaiting trial, reportedly said it best when interrogators asked why he had challenged the Terrans despite their warnings. I thought they were bluffing, he admitted. I thought no rational species would commit to violence that costly over mere cargo. I calculated wrong. What did you calculate wrong? The interrogator asked. I assumed humans were rational, Krethi said. They are not. They are something far more dangerous. They are rational enough to know when being irrational serves their interests better. That is not a predator wearing a mask. That is intelligence weaponized by evolutionary perfection. That is the apex that learned to think. Ambassador Kelrith kept that quote in his personal files. He reviewed it whenever other delegates suggested that humans were overreacting, too aggressive, or unnecessarily violent in their approach to galactic problems. Because the honey badger does not care what you think, it only cares that you are between it and what it wants. And humanity, it turned out, wanted a galaxy where their ships could travel safely. They got it. Decisively, efficiently, and with minimal casualties, just like apex predators should.